Hey, welcome to our channel. I'm Nick, aka Dad.
I'm Addie, aka the Monkey.
Hey, and this is Monkey Business. We appreciate you stopping by and taking a look at what we've got going on. This week, this is a video that a lot of people have done, but we thought we'd show you a new product that we're using on our Bronco to make those oil changes a lot easier.
Yes.
If you've done an oil change already on your Bronco, you know whether you have a 2.3 or 2.7 that the oil just comes out at an unbelievable rate. I mean, it just pops right out of it. And when we first did an oil change on the Bronco, we ended up getting oil all over our passenger side front tire. I mean, it just came shooting out of it. And then there's been some talk about how much oil to put into it, what kind of oil should I be using. So in this video, we wanted to show you what we're using and the new product we're using to make those oil changes a lot easier. We're also doing oil analyzations. So we're gonna be sending off what we take out of the Bronco to see how it's doing. Make sure that the catch can, which we'll post a link up here, we see how that catch can's doing for us. See if it's getting out some of that debris, some of the extra fuel that's going through there, getting it out of that oil. Here's what we're going to be using on our Bronco. And I'm sure some of you are already looking at it going, oh, come on, this is a paid promotion. No, AMSOIL is not paying us to use this. This is, they're not a sponsor or anything. This is just what I've been using since the beginning. And the reason I'm using this is Project Farm, which I'll post a link to their video up here. He did an oil analyzation of which was better, AMSOIL or Royal Purple, I think is the link I've got posted up there. And it really had a lot of good information on why AMSOIL was even better than Royal Purple. And when I was a kid and a little bit younger than I am now, Royal Purple was always really high up there with a lot of engine builders, hot rodders, high performance guys, but went with AMSOIL. We're doing the XL motor oil for boosted engine. We're also doing AMSOIL's filter as well, which we'll go over the filter. There are some issues I've had in the past with the oil filter and where Ford has it located and how they put it together, but we'll get to that later in the video. But we are going to be using 6 quarts. I know that's been a contention for a lot of people. Do I use 7 quarts? Because that's what Ford said at the beginning. Then Ford said, no, we put the wrong dipstick in. And then they said, no, really what it does take is 6 quarts, so the dipstick you have is correct. We're gonna go over that here later in the video and just go over what this 2.7 liter V6 twin turbocharged engine takes. And again, show you one of the new products that we're using to make the oil change a little bit easier and go over our oil analyzation on who we're using and what we've seen in the past. So
let's get started
with this oil change. All right, so we're ready for the oil change, and let's go over a few things that you're gonna need, at least on the 2.7. Ours does not have the bash plates in that, so we'll go over what socket you'll need for that here, and we'll go over some of the other tools we'll be using here just to make it quick and easy. And like I said, we've got this new product that should make this so much easier and less messy. Always looking for that to keep my garage as nice as possible. And I always like doing my own maintenance, kind of getting underneath the vehicle, taking a look, making sure everything is the way it's supposed to be. And looking for just any signs of wear and tear that are a little out of the ordinary. But here, let's go over what we need for doing the oil change on our 2.7 Ecoboost. All right, so the first thing you'll do, you see I've got these two, what look like plates, but this is our front one. This is basically a air shield, so air can go underneath the vehicle, but it's just made of plastic. We didn't get like I said, the steel bash plates. And it has 2 bolts up front, 2 bolts just a little bit lower, and then you have 2 bolts back here, and you can see they've got little recesses here to where the bolts basically slide out. But you will end up having to take those bolts pretty much all the way out because you have a second plate that they kind of interconnect with, because you can see the recesses here, and the one over here has a recess that they can slide out, but you got to take out the 3 on the back as well. Plus there's a center one here that goes all the way through, and no way to kind of just pull it out. But this covers basically like the front transfer case, because you can see the cutout there to go out to both CVs there. And then this section over here is where your oil pan is at. So your oil drain plug is on underneath there too. So you'll take those out. So like I said, you need your 15mm socket to get those front air dams off. And I believe that the steel shielding, the bash plates in that use the same bolts. Like we said in the beginning, we're using 5W30 AMS oil. This is our XL motor oil for boosted engines. So good for turboed engines, which obviously the 2.7 is. And we're using the AMS oil filter. There are some things I want to go over with the filter housing that you need to be aware of. So we'll get to that here in a little bit. Your oil pan. I've already taken off our oil filler cap there just to let the air in and kind of help us out. But here is the little guy that's going to help us change our oil. It says oil may be hot, caution, or caution, oil may be hot. But this is going to be what will help us not have as much issue getting the oil out. There's never an issue with the oil coming out on these things because it just comes flying out. But this is a nice piece of what feels like aluminum. Does have a rubber seal back here, but we'll show you how easy it is. This is from Ronin, and they have a lot of products like this for other applications as well. And they make the shorty antennas and mid-range antennas. I mean, a little bit of every length of antennas, but check them out at their link down below. See if there's something after this video that you want to get for your vehicle. Now, the last thing you probably saw on the table I didn't really discuss was we've got a grease gun, and I pulled out the grease we're using is AMS oil synthetic multi-purpose grease. The reason is because we have aftermarket UCAs, upper control arms, so we can service those every time, which you just pop from Icon. You just pop this little piece off here, which is basically double-sided tape on, keeps debris and water out as much as possible, but you just pop this off and we can got some grease certs that we can just put in some grease and make sure those are as long lasting as possible, as well as the uppers as well have a grease cert underneath, which it's hard to see. Let's see if we can get back here to show you those. But yeah, they're back there. You can see some of the old grease in there. But I always like to do those every time I do an oil change as well. Just keep up on the maintenance of those upper control arms. And again, make sure they last as long as possible. But let's get this old oil out. So when you do an oil change, this is a great time to put the Ronin factory easy oil plug into it. It's got a snap ring in there, which you might be able to see. And I had this installed when I did my last oil change with my dealership. And then you've got the cover, and it basically all slides right in. And when I undo this, no oil will come out, and that's when we'll use the piece I was showing you earlier. This guy will go in, and basically what this will do, whoops, turn it around the other way. When you start to screw it in, it'll press a spring inside here to open a valve to let the oil flow out, which should make it a lot easier because now you can control how quickly the oil comes out. And for anybody who likes to do some oil analyzations like we were talking about, it's an easy way to collect into those bottles they give you. So let's get this started. All right, so first thing we'll do is we'll unscrew the gold cap here. Take that off. And the oil is coming out. Now, we'll insert this. And again, make sure that you remember this is going to be hot oil coming out. So I did plug ours in just to make sure that that the oil was gonna come out pretty easily. And now that we've got it started, I'll just keep pressing it or tightening it in here until we get a release of oil. Oop, and there we go. Make sure my oil pan's underneath us here, and we'll just keep turning it. And there we go. Now we've got our oil coming out. It's not like flying out, but we can keep turning this to get that valve to let a little bit more out. That's basically all the way in. We'll move our oil pan down here a little bit. But yeah, this will make it so much easier than having it flying out of there and making a huge mess. Obviously, it's not coming out as quick as what happens when you take the oil drain plug out from the factory, the little yellow piece, but at least it's a little bit more controlled and a little bit easier to manage. Now, the one nice thing with this too, is that if you do a lot of oil analyzations for your vehicle just to see what's going on inside the engine, this does make it so much easier then to actually collect your sample, just because you can turn this off a little bit and be able to collect the sample you need. Now again, I have some gloves here that we got free with AMSOIL. They are not a sponsor. Just happened to get these with it, so I got that turned down enough. This will make it a little bit easier. We'll just turn this up a little bit. Oh, turned it too much here. There we go. Just keep turning him in. And we're filling up pretty quickly here, which is good. Get this topped off. We'll start slowing him down. Okay. All right, we're pretty much down to just a really light stream coming out. We'll give it a little bit more, but one thing you'll want to do next is go up top, and we're going to loosen the oil filter cover just to make sure some more air can get in there and just drain that out a little bit more. Okay, so this is up top now. This is where your oil filter is at. Ford on these engines now, they're starting to put the oil filters up top, unlike the old spin-ons that we remember from older cars. So the Bronco is the first one I've ever had with the top oil filter. So you're gonna wanna undo this. I will be using an adjustable wrench, but what I've heard though, this is a 27 millimeter, which I just don't have something that large, even in my impact tool set currently. So probably need to pick something like that up, but yeah, an adjustable wrench, and we're just gonna unscrew it a little bit and just get some air in there, just see if we gain more oil out of the system. They are a little tricky to get off just because they are made of plastic, so you don't want to get too aggressive with them and you know, break this top, I guess you might want to call it, like, I don't know, bolt head or whatever you want to call it, but just be careful. And then you can kind of see down there the little red ring. That is your first O-ring that you've got on here that we're going to need to replace. So I would definitely replace your O-rings every time, and we'll just spin this now freely by hand. Make sure no oil's coming out the bottom and just a bunch coming out, but nope, we're free here. So let's just remove this without trying to make a huge mess. And there we go. Here comes that. And we got a little bit of oil still in there. But yeah, here's what your oil cap looks like now. You've got your two O-rings. You've got another one up here. Now the issue I have with these is that they are made of plastic. And I've had one thing happen to me, which I couldn't drive the vehicle yet. This stem that goes down in the filter broke off. Separated from the top of the lid basically. So that's not going to make good pressure. So the dealership, thankfully I had it there for an oil change. They got another one in and no big deal. So if you're going to be doing your own oil changes like I'm going to start doing on our Bronco, might not be a bad idea to have one of these around just in case, because if that stem breaks off, you're not going to make good pressure, probably get a check engine light, and definitely, I think, could probably do some harm to your motor if you don't have good oil pressure. So just one thing in mind, I wish Ford would have done something better with this oil cap and made this a little bit more sturdy, or revise this, make it of aluminum. I don't know, there's got to be a better option, but yeah, that is one thing. Just be careful. Make sure you put oil on all of these O-rings. So they do go in and out easily, and hopefully never have a problem where that breaks apart. All right, well, we're down to a drip now, so I think we can take this guy out here. And the flow of oil should stop pretty quickly since there's not much coming out. Got a little bit on my hands here, but we'll clean that up here. But yeah, so stop there. We'll get that cleaned up, and then we'll go back up top here, and we'll get the oil put in and kind of go over what we find on putting oil in and taking it out here. One thing too, once you get done with your oil change, don't forget to put back on the cap. I don't know, I mean, it shouldn't let oil out, but again though, you don't want debris getting in there and making it hard next time. So don't forget your cap. We'll clean this off one more time here. All right, now we'll go up top. Okay, now that we have the oil all out and we're getting ready to go back up top, one thing you don't want to forget is we want to get rid of these 3 O-rings. Easiest way I have found to do this in the past has been to just use a pick. I'm going to use like a little Allen wrench because since our move, a lot of my tools have come up missing, or they're probably in a box somewhere. But using a pick, little 90-degree pick, has really helped me in the past to get these done. And to get these things off, because this top one, the little guy, is really tight. So to get down around it, a pick really works out well. I have even thought about, well, what if I just, cut the stupid thing just in case you can't get it? That probably is an option too, since you're not really going to reuse it. But yeah, using a pick on these, especially this guy right here, would be a huge help if you have one. If you don't, like I said, I don't know about possibly cutting it, but since these things are basically drowned in oil all the time, they are hard to get behind, and once you do, you definitely don't want to let it go. Like we're behind it now, and we're going to work it around here, try to get this thing off without making a huge mess all over the place here. So, and worked it around, and now we've got it off. Looks like she's clean back there, because the filter from AMSOIL does come with these O-rings, and I'm pretty sure if you decide to stick with the OEM from Ford, you'd also get 3 O-rings, 2 big ones and then 1 small one. So get those off and let's get back to it. Well, we've got all of our rings off, and we got this one is probably the hardest one, this little guy here. Do not forget to also grab some oil from the engine before and get that onto these as well. Helps get it on, but also will help keep the seals nice the entire time they're in there. And like I said, putting these things on does take some patience. You're going to get a little mad at them because the little one doesn't stretch very well. I have found using, again, kind of a reverse process with the little pick. If you can get it kind of start on one side and then stretch it over the little piece at the end, does help. But again, that's if you can get it started. Just like that. So we got them on there. I've already put some oil on it. It is going to be loose now, but over the time of it being in there, it is going to shrink down with the heat and all that. So now he's got to put the other 2 on here, which are down at the very bottom, okay? Now with the 2 larger ones too, don't forget to put some oil on them. Go over here to our new oil. We're going to just put a little bit on there, both rings, kind of get them oiled up. So now they're ready to go on. And again, same type of thing. You're just going to stretch those guys over. First one needs to go all the way at the bottom, would be easier. And once you get some oil on them, these bottom rings go on pretty easy. Don't forget that, get it all the way in that channel. Second one goes on really easy as well. You just got to stretch it up and over and then basically roll it down. So, and it goes in that last channel, or the top channel there. So they go at the, I guess if you're looking at from this direction, the very bottom, those 2 wider channels, because these are your threads for going back into the top. And then last but not least, Don't forget to pull your old filter out and put the new one in. All right, so we've got our new filter from AMSOIL. Looks just like the old one. I do have a paper towel here because pulling this out could make a little bit of a mess. Get in there pretty good. And yeah, it's gonna spill out some oil there. We're gonna wrap that up. So old filter definitely has got its 5,000 miles in, because that's what I do. I do an oil change every 5,000 miles, do a tire rotate at 5,000 miles, just keep everything as well maintained as possible. All right, new filter goes right back in, goes right into the center. On these vehicles, obviously I've got a 3-inch lift on mine. It's hard to see down in there, but even if you don't have a lift, it's hard to see down in there, but you'll feel it when you go right into the center. It kind of sticks right in. You can give it a little bit of a tug and it doesn't move. You're good to go. Okay, now that we have the filter on, we've got our filter cap. Put this little guy right in here. A little extra oil in there, it looks like. Spilled, but push it down. It won't start. You can set it on top, and if it doesn't start going, you just got to push it down until all you see are the actual O-rings, those big ones. That means it's done in there, and then you'll use your crescent wrench or socket wrench, whatever you got, to actually get it tightened down. One thing when you're tightening these down too, don't go too hard on them. I don't know if I'd use an impact wrench. If you're using a socket, I would basically just use your socket wrench. Just because, again, you don't want, this is made of plastic and you don't want to break anything. Also, now that you've got your filter on, if you do have an oil catch can, now is a good time to actually empty that out. Just because if you're doing in between oil changes, let you know what it's kind of collecting at this point. It'll also, show how much oil, it's consuming, or not consuming, but getting blown by. You shouldn't find a whole lot in there, hopefully, being a newer vehicle, but it is something that I think is great for your engine, especially with these newer engines. They're using that blow by and kind of recirculating it back into the engine. I don't particularly think it's a great idea for these motors. So we're trying to keep it as clean as we can, getting as fresh of air as we can into that combustion chamber instead of having recycled air. So we'll take that off and clean it out. Well, we've undone our catch can, and it looks like you can kind of see it down in there, kind of a light brown kind of stuff down in there. It looks to me like that's a lot of, it's oil and gasoline. There's some particulates maybe down in there kind of catching, making little dimples in there, but I have seen from when I've done my oil analysis, they are finding a lot of gasoline in my engine, or in my oil. So hopefully when we send off this, it'll be less now that we've had the catch can on there. But I'll keep you up to date. Well, now that we have the oil out, we need to put oil back in. And this has kind of been something that when the Bronco first came out, people thought it was supposed to be 7 quarts. I did. I put 7 quarts in when I first got it as well. I did my very first oil change at 1,000 miles and used AMSOIL boosted. And then there was a lot of people saying, well, no, I think it's 6 quarts. And then Ford came out and said, no, it's because we put the wrong dipstick in the early Broncos. Well, then they came back out and they kind of retracted that and said, no, it's the right dipstick. It does only take 6 quarts. Well, I've seen tons of video. Looked at some other people that have posted some things about their oil changes, and those who let their vehicles sit for a really long time before they did an oil change to get all of it to backflow back into the pan, I think got all 7 quarts out of it, because that's what the engine holds supposedly from the factory. I mean, they say dry from the factory it should hold like just over 7 quarts. I want to say it was 7.2. Don't quote me on that, but it was just around 7 quarts. And then when people were putting it back in, it was a little overfull. Well, it's because the dipstick's wrong. Well, no, it's because it's kind of a slow flow system back into the oil pan unless you let it sit for a really long time. So today we're going to see what it takes that we didn't let ours sit for a long time. It sat overnight. I pulled it into the garage this morning. So basically it had like less than 5 minutes of runtime. and then let it sit for another 30 minutes just to let all the oil flow back into the pan as long as I could at least. And then we're gonna see what it takes now just to get it back into, you know, the full area. Halfway through on that mark, make sure that if it takes 6 quarts, does it take 7 quarts? Does it take something in between? Let's find out. All right, well, our catch can is cleaned out, and now we're ready to put oil back in. Oil plug or drain plug is in, and yeah, should be ready to go. New oil filters in. So let's get this thing filled up and let's see how much she takes. Another thing to use is a good long filter with these engines. The oil filler cap area, it's a little bit lower than like your battery in that, so something that's a little bit taller so you don't spill any is always a good option. But we're gonna start with the 4-quart bottle here first. Fill it up. I'll probably put the other 2 quarts in right then as well, and then we'll check our dipstick and see what it looks like. One thing I do on these bottles, I've kind of learned over time, kind of cut yourself a little filler spout and the little air inlet spot on the foil itself, and then it makes it a little bit easier to pour, a little bit more controlled pour. Comes out pretty smooth then too. All right, 4 quarts down. All right, that was quart number 5. Okay, quart number 6. All right, well, I just put 6 quarts in, and I've checked it, this is the 3rd time, and we're up past the full mark at 6 quarts. Nice clean oil, so it didn't have anything left in there, so looks like 6 quarts got me to the 2nd marker, which is the one towards the top past the hash mark, so we're definitely full. So it makes me wonder, did we get all of it out? Or again, are these engines just a really slow backfill that, or, you know, not backfill, but slow to get down to the oil pan, I guess, slow drainage, that we still have some old oil in there. I'm sure you're gonna have some old oil in your engine, but yeah, at 6 quarts, we're full again. So I'm not even gonna bother with that other quart I have. We'll button her up, and last thing I wanna show you is how you prime your engine. These do have a prime function. Super easy to do, and I definitely recommend it after doing an oil change. Make sure you're not doing a dry fire. Even on these engines, a dry fire isn't gonna be very long. It's gonna get oil to the cylinders pretty quickly, but doing it without firing it and getting that oil pump to circulate that oil just again is better for the engine in the long haul. So let me show you how that's done. Okay, so you're done with your oil change. You've got the filter on, you've got, well, let's just go in order. You got your oil plug back in. You've changed out the filter. You've also put in new oil, and you check the dipstick a couple times now just to make sure it's full of oil. Now in the Bronco, you also have a prime feature. So I'm in the Bronco now, don't have anything turned on. My key, my fob is in here. So basically what you're gonna do is you're gonna smash down the brake and fully press down the gas. And when you press the start button, it should run for 10, or actually start for 10 seconds, but it won't fire the engine. Here we go. So that is how you do the prime function of a Bronco, especially on the 2.7. I'm pretty sure the 2.3 EcoBoost is the exact same procedure. You push down the brake all the way, you push down the gas all the way, you hit the start button. It will not fire the engine, but it will get that oil pump circulating oil. So that first startup after your oil change, you don't have a dry start, which will just help your engine last longer. And if you're doing your routine maintenance, and I do suggest every 5,000 miles on an EcoBoost, no more than that though. These EcoBoost engines, the oil is not only used by the engine, but it's used by the turbos to actually cool them. So keep in mind of that, because now you're not just using engine oil, you're using them for other things as well. So that oil needs to be as fresh as possible. So every 5,000 miles, definitely changing it, and then doing the rest of your routine maintenance. So keep that up, and these will last a long time. Let's wrap it up with Monk. Well, the oil change went a lot easier using that Ronin oil plug. I've had some people say, well, what happens if you get caught on a rock or something and it rips it out? Well, no different than what would happen if you just had the little plastic OEM plug in there. I mean, if it gets ripped out, it's gonna spill out your oil. But I think the way that Ronin has it set up with, they've got the ring in there that actually locks it in a locking ring. It's really well made. Even the plug you put in to start releasing the oil, it feels like it's made of aluminum. So again, a good sturdy piece. But check them out. We'll put a link down below for Ronin. They've got not only things for 2.7s, they've got stuff for the F-150s and other makes and models, if I remember right. And they're a veteran owned company by what I've read on their website. So love to support our veterans. We appreciate what they do for our country. But yeah, we're looking forward to seeing what happens when we get that oil analyzation back, see if our Mishimoto catch can is cleaning out some of that particulates and unburnt fuel going through there. So yeah, we'll put that in a later video. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But that Ronin plug really makes it so much easier to get these oil changes done. So hey, we appreciate you watching. Thanks for your support, and just have a blessed day.
Bye.